I'm here today to talk about energy, but ultimately I'm here to talk about power. And it seems like everyone's talking about power these days, whether it be coal power or electric power or wind power, solar power, gas power. And I must admit, I probably don't know as much about energy and power as most of you in this room, but if there's one thing I know for sure, it's that, and I think you'll agree with this, I like my power American-made. And the war on coal is not over. We still have a lot of people in power that are looking to take away your livelihood because they think it's dirty, they don't understand it, they don't live here, they don't know that it makes up your communities, your families, and what you've done for generations. They just don't quite seem to understand that. But that's why it's so important that our voices and your voices are heard. And if we don't support this president, if we don't elect America First candidates in 2018, it's really a slippery slope back to, if somebody wants to build a coal-fired power plant, they can. It's just going to bankrupt them. Do you guys remember that one? Yeah, that was a famous line from the left's anointed one, Barack Obama, in 2008. And we can't go back there because truth is, we fought like hell to get here. And one more administration like the Obama administration would be devastating to you, to me, to hardworking middle-class Americans all over this country. Because we may be the forgotten American, but we will be forgotten no more. The fake news would like to believe that this country is divided, that we don't know what we stand for, that there's such political division, and in some places that's true, but there's a lot of unity in this country as well, and it's in great places like North Dakota that we find it. But America as a whole is making a comeback, and though I do believe that our president, Donald J. Trump, is a big part of that, it's less about Donald Trump and it's more about the America First message and the America First agenda, and you are all part of that America First message and agenda, so we thank you. In other parts of the country, we thank you for making that message very clear. Donald Trump simply reminded us that those on the coasts are not everything, and that the country doesn't thrive just in New York and LA, but right here in the middle. And I think we made that very clear in 2016. I get that question a lot, how did you get into this? I actually just answered that question backstage. What made you want to do this? Why would you put yourself in the spotlight for ridicule? And it's actually very simple. I grew up where you grew up. I grew up in South Dakota. I grew up in an area where we saw a lot of what was going on. We were part of a lot that was going on in this country, but we really didn't have that much of a voice because no one really seemed to care about what happened in the middle. We were just the rednecks, the hillbillies. We clinged to our guns and our God, and they didn't understand us. And so like many of you, I would watch the nightly news at a young age, and I would watch the mainstream news. For some reason, my parents seemed to like ABC. I don't know why, but that actually taught me very well because I would watch ABC News, and after every time there was a tragedy, every time that the political discussion would turn to something very contentious, I would listen to them get it wrong over and over and over again because they didn't understand the middle of this country. They only can speak to what they know. And contrary to their belief, everything that goes on in this country and in the world and in American life does not happen just in New York City and Los Angeles and Chicago. It happens here in the middle. And we don't have sometimes the biggest voice, but we need to change that. And we make that known, not just through the energy industry, because you guys are powering this country, you truly are, but through voting and making sure that we're getting out there, making sure that our voices are heard. We did it in 2016, but we have to continue to do it because it's middle America that's going to keep this country on track. It's middle America that's going to make sure that America First doesn't just happen for 4 or 8 years, but it continues on, no matter if we have a Republican or a Democrat. It's not about that. It's about America First. It's about Americans first. The people in this room, it's about your livelihood, your families. You come first in your own damn country, and it's time that the people on the coast recognize and listen to that. And nowhere does it better than North Dakota. I know all of you aren't in the energy industry. I know some of you are members of the public as well, but you really all benefit from it. I mean, North Dakota has benefited greatly from the energy industry, and your industry actually accounted for $3.4 billion of the state's economic base in 2015, which is the last time that metric was taken and published. So that's a lot of money for North Dakotans, and that's not just jobs for those that work in the energy industry, but that's jobs for people in the service industries as well. It's a job creator. It's sustaining livelihoods and families, and you all know that better than anyone. because that's real money for real Americans. And that doesn't just impact North Dakota either. You're generating electricity at a cost significantly below that of all coal and natural gas power plants nationwide. That's real savings for real Americans, and you should be proud of that, because you really are powering not only North Dakota and Minnesota, even though they don't want to believe it, you're powering the country with your hard work. I know there's a lot of discussion about Minnesota as well. Let's talk about climate change for a minute. I know that's a hot topic because on CNN they cover two things, Russia and climate change, so we're going to hit one of those right now. They call it climate change. I call it weather, but again, semantics, this is all words. It's funny because they used to call it global warming until temperatures fell, and then they're like, well, this isn't going to work anymore, so we'll call it climate change, because then either way they win, because it's sunny, climate change, it rains, climate change, it's windy, climate change, it snows, climate change. They want to set themselves up so that they're always right. I'm guessing that they don't realize that lignite-fired power plants have invested about $2 billion in state-of-the-art technology to keep our air clean, and that investment accounts for about 20 to 30% of the total cost of a power plant. So you in this room know that the environment is important, and keeping the environment clean is important. I think that that's something that those on the left and those in big cities don't seem to understand about places like North and South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, and even Minnesota, is that we love this land and we want to keep it safe, we want to keep it clean, we want to keep it clean for generations to come because we want to stay here. So why on earth would we have a plant, whether it be a coal mine or a power plant, that would put our families for generations to come at risk? We wouldn't do it. If you look at the basis for the word conservative, it's conservation, because we do believe in conservation, we believe in our environment, we believe in clean air, we believe in all those things, but we also believe in American jobs, we believe in sustainable energy, and that's something that you in this room fight for every day, and it's not an easy battle, because you're fighting a lot of those that don't understand what you do, and they demonize what you do. Now, if these climate change warriors, they only come to your part of the world when they're protesting something, or if they paid attention, they would know that North Dakota is one of only 15 states in the nation that meets all of the EPA's strict federal ambient air quality standards. So they would know that it's important to you, and maintaining that is important to you, and you can do both. They don't believe that you can have sustainable energy and also fuel your economy. You can do both, and the state of North Dakota depends on it. And if they would stop talking, we'd have a lot less hot air in the environment. But as far as I know, they're still talking. But let's be honest, what would these elitists do without the energy that you break your backs to generate? Because I'm sorry, guys, you can't power your lives on feelings and fairy dust as much as you may believe that's so. And I see it in LA all the time. People that are driving their cars, that are powering their giant homes, and they think they don't understand that that comes from somewhere. And fossil fuels are God's gift to this nation, and we should be using it to their fullest extent, because that's how we become energy independent. That's how we make sure that we are in charge of our own future and our children are in charge of their future, and we don't have to depend on places like Venezuela or Saudi Arabia for our energy. We make sure we can do it here. And you guys are breaking your backs every day to remind the nation of that, and still they demonize you. But facts don't care about their feelings, so luckily we can continue on. But when we say things like make America great again, it means American energy independence, and it means jobs for oil, coal, steel, and factory workers. And our president has done many things to ensure that your livelihoods are protected. And he has said that the war on coal is over, or it's on its way to being over, because he won't let there be a war on coal, because he believes in you, he believes in your livelihood. And he kept his promise to rip up the Paris Accord, and I know that many in this room couldn't be happier, because I don't know if they even realize this, but even by the EPA's own models, if we virtually eliminated all carbon emissions in America, global temperatures would drop less than 0.2 of a degree Celsius. That's what they're fighting for. That's what they want to put you out of business for. So we can maybe drop the temperature less than 0.2 of a degree Celsius. So your jobs mean less to these environmental warriors than less than 0.2 of a degree Celsius. That should put things in perspective. It should fire you up. It should make sure that you're going out to vote in 2018 and 2020, because your livelihoods depend on it. If we do not go out and vote in 2018 and 2020, we will lose that. We will get someone who does not understand you and wants to put you out of business. We put Americans and American jobs first in this country, but it's up to us to maintain that, because if we don't, we're going to lose it. and your economy is going to dwindle. And nobody in this room wants that, I know. And I don't want to be a fearmonger, but I just know how important it is because I'm surrounded by these people each and every single day who want to make sure that your voice gets quieter, and they want to make sure that the voices of the extreme left, the illegal immigrants, and the globalists get louder and louder and louder, because we have too long been the silent majority. It is time to get louder. It is time to stand up for your families. It's time to stand up for your industry. It's time to correct the narrative, because if you don't, no one will. And I'm working like hell to make sure that your message gets out there, but I need all of your help. I need your voices, and I need your support. I really do. It's not easy to be in your industry, but easy is for weak people. Easy is for whiners, complainers, and losers. You're winners, you're workers, you're the backbone of this country. You are the forgotten Americans, the silent majority, but let's make sure that you get a little bit louder, let your voices be heard. And you folks know better than anybody that no one gives you power. You make it and you take it. And if you're ever feeling down and you feel like, maybe it's just a bad day and you're worried about your industry, or was, a hard day in whatever you're doing because your jobs aren't easy, I want you to remember 3 things that are very important. Number 1, and this is the most important, you live in the greatest nation on the face of the earth, and don't ever let anybody tell you that you don't. People are breaking down barriers to get into this country, not get out of it. When's the last time you saw someone running to Venezuela? Yeah, I didn't think so. They're running here for a reason. And you guys know that. So take comfort that you do live in the greatest nation on the face of the earth, and we fought like hell to make it great. And it doesn't stay great by abandoning all the things that made it great. It stays great by bringing those things back. Traditional family values, constitutional rights, even though they want to chip those away too. That's what made this nation great. It's people like you that work day in and day out and don't ask for a damn thing from anybody. That's what makes this country great. And that's the number 1 thing. And that's what people in this room understand probably better than anyone else in this country, is that we're not looking for a handout in North Dakota. We're not looking in North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, and the rest of the middle of this country. We're not looking for a handout. We're not looking for someone to pat us on the back and say, oh, we'll give you assistance, we'll find you another job. We're telling the government to get the hell out of the way so that we can give ourselves a hand up and make sure that our families have food on the table, we can send our American-born children to college. That's what people in this room care about. That's the message of Middle America. That's the message of coal country, and we will get that message out there because they can't ignore us forever. They could in 2016, they're not going to be able to in 2018 or in 2020, but I need you guys to get a little louder with your voices. Thank you. Really, God bless all of you. I know that that's not something that they say very often anymore, but I know that you still say it here. God bless all of you. Take care. Make sure that you fight for yourselves. Make sure your voices get a little bit louder. Don't let anyone shame you into the corner. Don't let anyone tell you your industry is dirty. This is the industry that built your lives and your families, and you work very hard every day to sustain it. And that's creating jobs not only for your families, but for the community members around you that aren't in your industry. So thank you for everything that you do. Thank you so much for welcoming me back. It's been such a good time here in North Dakota. I'm going to come back when it's a little bit warmer. We're going to do a tour of the coal mine, because I really want to bring that to the viewers at Fox. I really want them to see what you guys go through every day. I want them to see why you break your backs. I want them to see how important this industry is to you and to the rest of the country, because truth is, sometimes if people can't see it, their perception is reality, and they don't understand how much it means to you, how much it means to me. So I'm going to bring them back here, and we're going to make sure we get that accomplished. And we're going to go all over this country to all the forgotten Americans and make sure that their voices are heard, because we are Americans. We deserve to come first in our own country, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that happens.